Hi everyone, I'm Frank Daniels, and you're watching Football DataLab. We work with a database of over 30,000 active professional players across more than 80 performance metrics. Today, we're looking at how mobile professional footballers really are, and whether that mobility actually connects to success. In front of us is a distribution chart showing the number of clubs per career. The sample covers almost 30,000 players. The majority have moved between 1 and 4 clubs. That's where the bulk of the bars sit. But the tail stretches far to the right, with a portion of players having represented 10 or more teams throughout their careers. That immediately raises several questions. Is changing clubs a deliberate career strategy, or simply a sign of instability? Are there meaningful differences between leagues, where players tend to settle and where they keep moving? And the most compelling question of all, do players who switch clubs more frequently ultimately perform above average or below it? All of that gets answered across the next 3 charts. Okay, that covers the overall distribution picture. Now let's look at how mobility breaks down.
We've established how often players change clubs in general. Now let's see where that mobility is strongest. This chart covers 8 leagues, and the gap between them is striking. The Brazilian League and the English Premier League stand out clearly. The average number of clubs per career is noticeably higher there than anywhere else. Turkey, Italy, and Spain sit in the middle. Finland, Scotland, and Poland fall closer to the bottom. Why Brazil specifically? The country has an enormous number of clubs and an extremely active domestic transfer market. Players regularly move between sides within Brazil before they ever leave for Europe. There's another factor too, the structure of Brazilian football, with relegation filtering through state leagues, pushes clubs into constant squad turnover. England is a different story altogether. It's a deep market, intensely competitive, with loan moves operating at every level of the pyramid. Okay, that covers the geography of mobility. Now let's look at how frequently changing clubs can.
We've already seen how mobility varies from league to league. Now let's look at a different angle: age. Almost 30,000 players in the sample, and the pattern here is clear. The older a footballer, the more clubs he's had. Under 22, the average is fewer than 2 teams. Past 31, it's closer to 4. That's a meaningful gap. One explanation is simple maths of time: more years as a professional, more contracts signed. Another is survivorship bias. Players who make it to 31 are often precisely those who adapt well to new clubs and new managers, and so moved more readily and more often. The real question is which way the causality runs. Does mobility extend a career, or does a long career simply accumulate transfers? Okay, that covers the age breakdown. Now let's see whether any of this actually converts into results.
We found that players change clubs less frequently as they get older. But here's where it gets genuinely surprising. Look at the top 10% by rating, and the picture flips completely. Across almost 17,000 players in our database, the elite have changed clubs fewer times across their careers than everyone else. Not more, fewer. That directly contradicts the familiar image of a star being passed between big clubs for enormous fees. One explanation is straightforward. The best players simply hold their place at strong clubs more easily. They don't need to go looking for a move. Opportunities come to them, and they tend to stay put. The other side of it is that mid-tier players have far more reasons to keep moving. Contracts expire, they fall out of the squad, they chase minutes at a lower level. So there's a real paradox here. Mobility isn't a sign of success, it's usually a sign of searching for it. The more stable the career, the higher the level tends to be. If this kind of analysis interests you, subscribe, and we'll be back in a few days with more breakdowns from the same dataset.